Oddity fine. I got some economic hawks, a gin and tonic on the rocks, where angels fear to tread. I say, choose your booze, let's hit the red eye. Think of young Diana Durbin and how she sung on rum and bourbon. Or enhance your luncheon hour with a planter's punch and a whiskey sour. If you feel like a wreck, try a horse's neck or a sherry with a cherry in the new finer size. If you don't name your poison, I'll have to get the boys in. The spirit of adventure opens one's eyes.
Metal Gen,
welcome back!
Welcome to our new epic fanfic reading, which, if you haven't figured out by now, is one of the cornerstones of the fandom.
Yeah. I know we said before that we wouldn't do ones like Molestia, Cupcakes, and Rainbow Factory, and all the ones I said have been read by everybody and their dog, but this one
However, this one, as far as we know, has essentially snippets read in character, but never actually been done in full. And we decided to pick it up.
And really,
I feel sorry for you. But
also, if there are any full, complete versions of this, we are not aware of them at this time. But also, really, the main reason we picked this up, we actually really like this one. Like, given what it's dealing with aside, this is actually a good story.
yes, and
Yeah.
well, this story, Metal Gen, takes place across the ventures of time and space itself. Shut it. Anyway, without further ado, we present to you On a Cross and Arrow
by Connor Cogwork. Part 1.
On a Word Misheard.
All of these chapters actually begin with, well, a quick description and a drawing, which is actually pretty neat.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to read the
Anyway.
description? Mm-hmm.
Twilight and her 5 friends are transported during a botch spell across dimensions to Ponyville Equestria, but not the same one that she knew, or that they knew. Sitting on a bench is Harpsy and Babar. The doctoress avoids apples from an aspiring apple buck. And in a library across town, 6 stallions join their forces as they try to decipher the appearance of filly lookalikes of themselves around Ponyville.
This is...
Without further ado, Part 1, On a Word Misheard.
Spike! Can you be a dear and get me rules of Thermodynamics 101? Okay, you know what? No, there's a joke I could make here, but I'm not going to. Could you be a dear and get me rules of Thermodynamics 101? Sure thing, Twilight! Hang on!
The Lavender Mare nodded to her assistant as she rushed off before turning back to her book. It was a book that she had managed to find only a few minutes ago, a mysterious title labeled Exploring the Ether for Fun and Profit. She had already managed to make her way halfway through the volume. Her curiosity continually piqued more and more as she delved deeper. It was a traveler's guide, and she was doubly pleased to see that it was aimed at unicorns, a spell popping up every now and then on the pages. Some of these she could see adding to her normal repertoire. The compass spell in particular she resolved to commit to memory, and that would be extremely handy should she ever wind up outside of Everfree once again. Inside the Everfree once again. Another was a foodstuff sanitizer.
Definitely keeping that one.
She thought to herself, reminded of her one trip outside of the Equestrian borders to Mexico. Never again would she have to suffer Montezuma's revenge. And then finally, Her eyes alighted upon a really good one that made her bounce in place in anticipation. It was a teleportation spell, but reading it over, she saw it was significantly more advanced than the one she utilized regularly. This required a ritual. While lengthy and complex, the benefit was that it offered instant travel to any location on the globe and for the caster to be accompanied by a party of up to 10 ponies at once.
You know, if these sorts of spells are readily available, I think they would be used far more often. And the princess would have a much easier time getting to Ponyville.
Whatever.
But anyway, we will soon find out why these spells are not in more common use.
Move along.
I know 10 ponies,
She mused.
but there are 5 in particular that I'd love to invite.
It had been then that she had asked her dragon friend to retrieve the physics guide. Transferring 6 ponies over that much distance in a short amount of time was bound to create some sort of heat lash, even in ether form.
You do not want to know the damage that can be caused while in ether form.
Well, you don't want to know the damage.
He knows.
Well, it's mostly the ungodly amounts of radiation that are caused when you're trying to ghostly move from one point to another. But anyway, her eyes glanced at the spell that rested below the teleportation one. Sharing the same page was a simple viewing spell, one that offered glimpses into parallel dimensions.
Meanwhile, the parallel universe where Razor and Daedaltheus are not reading this story. Hey, Daedaltheus, what do you want to do today?
Same thing we do every night. Try and take over the world.
Meanwhile, back in the regular universe.
Very interesting. Exciting, even.
She gave it the once-over before adding.
But not very practical. Maybe another time.
Spike arrived with the tome in hand.
Here we are, Twilight!
He spoke, plopping a rather hefty volume next to the unicorn's current book.
Whoosh! Any more heavy lifting like that, and I'll be as ripped as Applejack. Don't you mean Big Macintosh?
Whatever.
Oh well.
There's a disturbing thought.
Twilight joked before her horn lit and opened the book up. Within moments, she double-checked her theories on energy buildup and release before comparing them with the spell.
Yes! It could work! Ley lines! Of course!
The galactic ley line? Whatever. There was then a slam as the student announced her next intention.
Spike, pack my bags. I'm going on a trip.
That caught the dragon by surprise.
What? Trip? Twilight, where are we going?
Not we, Spike. I need you to remain at the library and keep it running. You're a big dragon now. I have full confidence in you to keep the place in tip-top condition while I'm gone. Besides, the trip shouldn't take that long. 2-3 days at the most.
He blinked. He'd taken custodianship of the library before, but never for a whole day. Not even 3 whole days.
Wow, Twilight. I'm touched. You can count on me.
His scaled chest puffed out in pride.
I won't let you down.
The filly giggled.
I know you won't.
She assured as she prepared a saddlebag, taking her travel book and her bit purse.
Just remember to tell Owlicious when it's his turn.
Oh.
Spike's ears drooped as he was reminded he'd be sharing his duties. But he let it slide as another question entered his mind.
Wait a second. Where are you going anyways?
As Twilight trotted towards the door and opened it, she looked back at her assistant.
Don't know yet.
She exclaimed,
But I bet it's going to be very educational.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
I think so, but where are we going to find 2 zombies at this hour?
No, not that! There's a reference to a very short 6-episode anime I could make right now.
Oh!
So you're going to allow me to make the reference.
What? Wow. Her breaststrokes are very strong. So very educational.
And thus, lessons from the master of Mac Daddies, that is Kentaro Oe, have been passed on for the next generation of Mac Daddies to take and learn from.
All right, proceeding.
If you want to know who Kintaro
Look
Oe
up
is,
Golden Boy on YouTube.
or at the very least, just watch Bennett the Sage's review of it.
Anyway, meanwhile, at the ranch.
I was just gonna ask if you were gonna bring back the ranch puns.
But of course, it's my shtick.
All right then. And this time we're actually at the ranch.
Yep.
Spell lets you go anywhere with the drop of a hat.
That's right, Applejack.
The unicorn nodded to her earth pony friend who was bringing in the last wagon full of apples for the day.
It'll also let me take as many ponies as I want with me. Well, up to a maximum of 10, actually, but you get the idea.
Applejack hummed and thought, a hoof going up to tilt her hat back.
Sounds mighty tempting, toi. Tell me, you got in place in mind?
Not yet. I was hoping you all would have ideas.
Well, I got a Daedaltheus coming up. Sorry, I thought this was something else. Well, I got a Daedaltheus coming up, and I'll admit, it's been a while since I last saw the Big Apple. Manhattan. Manhattan's all right with you?
Meanwhile, at the boutique on the ranch.
It's slightly to the left.
It's on the ranch. Ranch puns are my thing.
Fine! I will not get in the way of your ranch puns. Manhattan sounds wonderful, darling!
Rarity crooned.
Seriously, Applejack, it never ceases to amaze me that you've been into such a capital of glamour and class!
AJ simply rolled her eyes as she leaned against the boutique's walls. Twilight simply smiled.
She's offered to give us a tour of the city. We could use the spell to go there, spend the day, and then come back.
Certainly sounds like a plan to me, dear.
With that, the white unicorn's horn glowed as a saddlebag and various other items began to float out into the open.
Oh, you simply must excuse me now, dears. I have a lot of packing to do. You know what? I have to say that more correctly. I have a lot of packing to do!
The other two chuckled and began to depart before the purple pony stopped in her tracks.
Oh, Rarity, if you can, pack plenty of rubies. We'll be needing them.
That earned her a surprised look.
Rubies? Why, what they were for, dear?
Well, you have to build the door frame out of something.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, just below the cloud house on the ranch.
The spell is a ritual-based one.
She explained, head craned up to look at the cloud above her.
And that's one of the items required, if we're going to pull it off successfully. A blue feather?
Rainbow Dash had an eyebrow cocked.
I mean, yeah, I got plenty of them, but I kinda, need them for flying. I had a new stunt I was wanting to try today.
It's like, come on now, Dash. I know it ain't that hard.
The apple bucker was directing her voice upwards.
I guess I'll tend to molt every now and again, don't they? I don't... I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was supposed to be said incorrectly. My bad. Pegasus says tend to molt every now and again, don't they? That's Pegasi!
Rarity corrected. The vibrant main speedster looked vaguely uncomfortable.
It's not something we really like to talk about to other non-winged ones.
She then hurriedly cast her rose-colored eyes back downwards.
No offense to you guys. Just, okay, tell you what. I'm in. I have a few down feathers that are coming loose anyways. So, still think I could fly to Manhattan in less time than your spell? Oh, that's not a question. Still think I could fly to Manhattan in less time than your spell, but if you really need the dash...
If you really need the dash...
Swag. Anyway, meanwhile, at the tree house, literally a tree, on the ranch...
Oh, thank you!
Came the smile, followed by a hug. Fluttershy returned both readily as she embraced Twilight.
Oh, it's no problem at all.
Wait. I was like...
Derp.
Oh, it's no problem at all, Twilight. I I had been given these faces anyway as a gift from Whitewash.
Whitewash?
For taking care of his ferrets.
What, you never heard the term whitewash? It means when you paint a fence.
No, I know what it is, but
Okay.
it seems like a weird name to name a pony.
Well, probably paints fences. The yellow pony gestured at the 2 ceramic containers, each one about the size of a bottle of soda.
I was originally thinking of putting cut roses in them, but this is better.
Glad to hear it, Fluttershy.
Albert smiled, giving her a pat on the back.
I promise, Manhattan may be pretty loud, but Central Park is relaxing in a place to zen around.
Bullshit! Bullshit! Granted, Central Park was designed by Frederick Law Olmsted, one of the godfathers of modern landscape architecture, but relaxing? No. No, nay, never. I say the nay.
I would like to point out at this time that neither of us have ever been to New York.
My only knowledge of Central Parks comes from the awesome film, which is, Where's Papa?
Never seen.
A guy has to run through Central Park in the middle of the night, gets hit by a bunch of gang members who basically, every time, they basically force him to run through the park, and every time they catch him, he has to remove an item of clothing. So by the time he gets to the other side of the park, he's completely naked. Then they force him to put on a gorilla suit and run through the park. It's awesome.
So that's where the gorilla suit gag from the early Rainbow Dash Presents videos comes from.
Anyway,
what was I? Glad to hear it, Fluttershy.
Applejack smiled.
He's like, I promise Manhattan may be pretty loud, but Central Park is relaxing places and around. The critters that... There are critters in Central Park. You know what? Forget it. This is Manhattan, not Manhattan. Critters that are so tame, they'll eat the bread right out of your hooves, if not straight out of your bag.
Oh my.
The animal lover's eyes practically glowed.
I'll have to be sure to pack plenty of bread then. And carrots for the bunnies, and seeds for the birds, and nuts for the squirrels, and fish for the alligators.
Meanwhile...
Wait! Fish for the alligators. She just acknowledged carnivorism. As in one animal eating another. To survive.
No shit.
This is a first.
Anyway, meanwhile at the confectionery shop on the ranch.
And cupcakes for the ponies!
Pinkie Pie chimed in, twirling about Sugar Cube Corner's kitchen floor with a plate full of the treats balanced on her head.
Yes, Pinkie.
Rarity waved a hoof at her hyperactive friend.
We are quite aware of Pony's...
Predilection.
The Pony's predilection for those pastries.
Bread, but...
Yeah. Actually, Pinkie...
The Purple Unicorn stepped forward as her eyes scanned the spellbook hovering in front of her.
I need a different item. Not that I don't like cupcakes too, but would you happen to have any sunflower oil?
So, the spell inquires vases, feathers, rupees, and sunflower oils.
Where are you going with this?
Are they trying to summon Dayman,
Ah!
fighter of the night, man?
Ah! You're
Champion
a
of the
master
sun.
of... Ah! You're a master of karate and friendship for everyone. Dayman!
Sorry, that was too irresistible to sing the sunflower oil thing. Anyway, the party pony stopped her dance, eyes slightly crossed as she processed the request.
Sunflower oil? Sure, I got some, but that wouldn't be very... I'm sorry, Mental
Slow down a little bit.
Yeah, the reason I tend to lose track of the words sometimes is because when I talk that fast, I kind of want to say my own thing, yet I want to stick to the script.
Slow down a bit.
Okay, sunflower oil? Sure, I got some, but that wouldn't taste very good with the cupcakes. I mean, I guess you can make cupcakes with sunflower oil instead of regular vegetable oil, but I never had to do that. Though that would be interesting to try. I wonder what kind of taste it would give to the Pinkie Pie!
Rainbow yelled, startling her friend out of her rant.
Just get us the stuff, please.
A pause before the cheerful response of,
Okie dokie dokie.
Meanwhile, outside of the ranch, 10 minutes later, all 6 ponies reconvened. At the outskirts of Ponyville, each pony had packed light. This was just supposed to be a
Except Rarity.
Well, we don't know that.
Right?
Which is supposed to be a day trip after all. However, it seemed that somebody forgot to tell Rarity that, as she slowly made it to the top of the hill that Dash, Applejack, Pinky, and Fluttershy were lounging on.
God damn it, Connor Cogwork, you keep ruining the jokes before I can make them!
Wah, wah, wah.
Oh well, I guess that means I'll have to stop being as presumptuous as I normally am.
Yes.
Alright. Wow!
The farmer went as she caught the size of the dressmaker's baggage.
Thank y'all, packed enough jewels in there, Rarity. That, and a few other things.
She responded, trying to keep the strain out of her voice.
This is Manhattan we're going to, after all. I must simply be prepared to look my best, wherever we head to. Well, I'm not gonna argue with that logic.
Nope.
It's like, y'all might not is that supposed to be pronounced cotton, or is it?
I think so.
Alright. Y'all might not cotton to it as much as all that, Raz. I seem to call the streets being awful crowded and dirty. Dirty streets.
The look that came over the pale unicorn's face was enough to set Rainbow off guffawing. The timid yellow pony simply shook her head before turning to her blue-coated friend.
What are you going to be doing there, Dash?
She asked.
I hear that flying is tricky there, isn't it?
Well, when we eventually perfect the hover cars, it's going to be tricky.
Yeah, you're adding a third dimension to the idea that something could laterally wipe out half a building. Anyway, continuing.
Oh yeah, that's what I hear.
Came the answer.
But the F-drops are supposed to be wicked awesome for stunt flying. Maybe I'll be able to pull off my new trick while I'm there.
Here's a question. Don't you need a license to perform stunts in the larger cities?
More than likely, plus also the last time something came flying and crashing down in a major city. Well, let's just say the fire of Olympus was not too kind.
And it's still burning.
Yep.
And let's not stay on that.
Oh, the wheel of the sky keeps on burning.
Alright. Woo! Woo! Don't forget the food!
Referencing my own work, Mental Gen. Sorry.
Right.
The big pony leapt up, her hooves waving in the air.
I know there's supposed to be super duper yummy restaurants around there, like Lombardi's Pizzeria or Cha-Cha's. Cha-Cha's?
What? It's a real place. I think.
Whatever.
Continuing.
In Little Italian? Little Italian.
Nice.
You all can't see it, but there is a pony pun in the name Little Italian.
Nice. She then pantomimed tossing a pizza crust into the air.
I can't wait to try them all!
Knowing Pinky, you could probably eat every single food item in Manhattan and then some. Okay?
There was a round of chuckling and giggling from all fillies present before the Cyan Pegasus looked off to the side.
Oh! Better straighten up, girls. Our ride's here!
Indeed! Twilight was strolling up the hill, the saddlebag secured to her side and the spell book on her back. As she drew closer, she called out to them.
Sorry, girls. Had to stop at the library and grab my bags. Also had to promise Spike I'd pick up a slice of pizza while we're gone.
Makes sense.
Good. Is taking food between dimensions a good idea?
So long as it's connected with the restrained within the safety bubble.
Yeah, I guess.
Theoretical term.
Sure thing.
Applejack drawled.
What kind does it like?
Peppers and emeralds with extra cheese.
Yum.
Remove the emeralds and you've got something good. Okay. If we are going to eat out, badumtis,
Rarity began.
I must insist that we try the Daedaltheus. It's a 5-star establishment, you know, where only the best. Nuh-uh.
The orange equine suddenly vetoed her idea.
Can't go within 12 feet of that place.
There was a surprised blink.
Why, Applejack? Why ever not? 'Cause I've eaten there before.
She stated flatly.
Too much money for not enough food. 24 beds for a steam turnip and some chops. I'll take one of them cat dog stands any day of the week.
Huh.
You know Maybe this is just my own insanity talking, but that sounds like a decent idea.
What?
Carrot dogs?
Well, they make tofu dogs.
But yeah, maybe throw a little ranch on that. You know what?
Moving right along.
This is a long chapter, and we're getting sidetracked.
Move.
Where was I? Okay. Well, this was back when you were in a filly. Girls!
Came a commanding voice. The dark-maned unicorn was giving them all an odd look.
We'll discuss eating arrangements after we've arrived. Let's focus on getting there first. Fluttershy, do you have the vase?
The other one nodded, dug into her pack, retrieving one of the white vessels, placing it on an even patch of ground. Twilight opened her book, found the spell, and began reciting from it.
A vessel of white to hold the down.
Okay, step one.
Applejack said cheerfully.
What's next?
A feather of blue to match the sky round.
All eyes to the Rainbow Dash, who fidgeted for a second before extending a wing out. She reached her head back, then inspected her feathers, and then singled one out, gripping it in her teeth and plucking it, with only a slight wince and an ow from her lips.
Thank you, Dash.
Unicorn soothed as the Pegasus dropped the feather inside the vase.
Also inside the vase we need a stone of fire from light which grows.
Rarity levitated a ruby from her saddle pack, the surface gleaming flawlessly.
Wouldn't that need to be a fire ruby if that's the... You know what? Semantics.
With a smile, she nudged it down to the ceramic vase, trying to disturb Dash's feather as little as possible. Well, unless it's a ruby sunstone that powers the giant Strider from Dinotopia as powered by Crab. It's semantics.
Alright.
And finally, Pinky, the essence of flower from which the sun glows.
The named equine stepped up, bottle of oil in her mouth, with a disturbing ease, and nary a drop spilled, the golden substance poured into the vase.
Fill it about halfway. That should be more than enough.
The magician instructed. The finished conglomeration sat there in the middle of the group, all eyes upon it.
Okay, Sugar Cube.
Applejack began.
Now what?
Now, every pony huddle around the vase, and just let me do the work.
I see no flaws in this plan.
Wait! I declare that this cannot go wrong!
I declare that this cannot go wrong. There was a confident smile. They did as they were told. Twilight took one more glance at the spell book, and then lowered her head as she concentrated. A glow began to coalesce around the vase. Purple at first, but then turning to a bright gold as the items contained within began to react with one another.
Ooh, pretty!
Pinky sang as the light began to intensify. After a couple seconds, the glow began to expand, encompassing the entire group within its borders. Rarity wasn't sure if the tingle she was getting was only being felt by her or her friends feeling it too.
Okay.
Twilight thought to herself.
So far, so good. Now, I just need to find the ley line. The one that directs me straight to the Chrysler building.
Clydesdale.
You clever bastard.
To the Clydesdale building. That'd be a good place to start. Now, let's see.
In her mind's eye, she began to perceive the waves of energy, usually unseen to the naked eye, that danced and cavorted about them.
So they're spirit threads. Bleach reference!
No. She spawned at least a dozen different streams that seemed to go in all directions. Tapping into one of those, and then riding its current, would provide the teleportation needed. So it's more like the stream from Donnie Darko.
Which I have yet to see, because I refuse to watch anything by that director because he's a presumptuous asshole.
Just watch Donnie Darko, forget the rest.
Fine.
Anyway, but she couldn't quite make them out. They were fuzzy, indistinct. She wasn't sure which one she needed.
I must not be properly tuned right.
She realized.
What frequency? I need to double check.
She opened an eye, her vision blurred slightly from strain. She spotted the frequency reading on the page in front of her. 41 kilohertz.
What?
She readjusted her horn's magic output, and instantly a new layout became visible to her. A land of lines that resembled the webs of crackled glass. One in particular popped out to her. She perceiving it, and if she was perceiving it right, it seemed to be stretching out to the northeast in the general direction of Manhattan.
That's probably as close as we're gonna get.
She told herself, and tapped into the line. What happened next was not covered in her book. Instantly, she felt a whirlwind of energy emitting from the point she had touched. No, it wasn't coming from inside the line. It was coming from herself. It was sucking them in. Oh my god.
What?
They're folding space. Father! The sleeper has awakened! In the waking
No
world,
more Dune references!
Never! In the waking world, the glow that was surrounding the group had suddenly turned violent. Ripples of wind thrashing their manes as a pillar of light exploded from the vase and pierced into the sky.
Twilight!
Applejack had to strain to make herself heard over the roar of air.
Y'all sure this is supposed to happen, Trucker Cub? No, I'm not sure!
Doctor, are you sure this will work? I have no idea! Twilight yelled back.
Just keep together! Everybody hang on!
Magic field began to compress. The forms of the 6 mares inside becoming smaller and distinct as well. A rumble like thunder began before it opened and cracked as the field suddenly leapt outwards, following the pillar into the sky with a blinding flash. Both the glowing column and the wind died away. The only things left on the hill was a smoldering vase and an open book, its pages ruffling listlessly in the breeze. Meanwhile, elsewhere that we have no idea where,
But it is somehow...
someplace. Might be on the ranch. We don't know yet. But anyway, because they've done this,
Okay.
just on the borders of your waking mind, there stands a time where darkness and light are one. The first thing she became aware of was grass tickling her cheek. With a groan, Twilight righted herself.
What happened?
She didn't think that a teleportation spell would have involved a pillar of light. She found herself wincing as her horn throbbed.
Probably in massive amounts of pain!
Mm-hmm.
Nor did I think it would take so much out of me.
She groggily turned her head to take in the surrounding scene. She found herself relieved to see that her friends were present and accounted for. They, too, were all in various states of confusion and wooziness. Dash was the first to have gotten onto her feet, was experimentally taking a few steps, angling herself towards Fluttershy to assist her. Applejack was on her back doing a fair impression of Ditzy-Doo, and Rarity's face had seemingly frozen an expression of wild-eyed terror. Unsurprisingly, Pinky had landed on her front forelegs and neck, supporting her body as her hind hooves kicked in the air. There was also a manic grin on her face.
Woo! Let's do that again! If it's all right with you, all of you,
Yellow Pegasus stuttered as Rainbow helped her to her feet.
I'd rather not. Same here, Fluttershy.
Violet responded.
I'm sorry about that, guys. I had no idea the landing would be so rough.
Y'all sure that light show? I was expecting it. What? Y'all sure that light show there was expected and all?
Just read it.
Oh, sorry. That's not... Sorry, Pencil Jane, that's something not good. Y'all sure that light show there was expected at all?
AJ questioned as she rolled back onto her side.
Like, y'all seemed awful panicked there. Did it work right? Actually.
Her green eyes began to roam the landscape about them.
How come I ain't seen statual Miss Liberté?
Now the unicorn took the time to look beyond her group. They were sitting on a grassy hill. The sun was still in the same position in the sky. Off in the distance, they saw a tree line of a forest. On the other side, she spied the rooftops of a sleepy little village. She had a feeling that if she was close enough, she could see a sign along its border that said, "Welcome to Ponyville." They were right where they started.
Oh,
Da-da-da!
what the hey?
Rainbow exclaimed, taking in the sight.
All that flashing and blowing, and we haven't even budged a yard? Come on, Dash. We don't know what happened.
The magician groaned, leaning back and rubbing her forehead.
Okay, first off, let's take stock. Is every pony okay?
I'm fine, dear.
Rarity finally spoke, coming out of her stupor.
I apologize. That was just quite more than I had expected. Really, Twilight, I never knew you had so much in you.
Why did that make her blush? She shook her head and directed herself at each pony in turn.
You, Applejack?
I'm alright, Sugar Cube. It'll take more than that to scare the cutie marks off of me. It's like, this is Rainbow Dash.
I'm a bit frustrated you just haven't spent, and I'm a bit frustrated that we've just spent time I could have been using in practicing going nowhere at all. Other than that, I'm fine. I'm okay. Really, Twilight. Though, I admit, that was, rather scary. I thought it was fun! Can we do it again, Twilight?
Twilight simply rolled her eyes as she finally got to her hooves.
I'm sorry, girls, but whatever the spell did, it took a fair amount of magic.
Just continue.
It took a fair amount of magic out of me, and I don't think the book said anything about.
She looked down at the ground where she had set the tome. It was gone.
Ah!
She shrieked, causing all present to jump.
My travel book! It's gone!
She got a nudge from the white mare.
Dear, that's not all that's gone. The vase is missing too!
There was a frantic searching of the immediate premises that proved fruitless. Both the spellbook and the ritual machina had disappeared without a single trace.
Quick question, would they have needed to... Okay, the ritual takes them there, but when they're there, would they have needed to get all this stuff back?
Yes.
I imagine getting those things in Manhattan could have been difficult.
Not really.
Alright.
Continuing.
Okay, well... Okay.
Well, great!
The Pegasus friend grumped.
Apparently the spell did work, just not for us. I hope my fat others enjoying the view from the
I'm sorry, the pony puns.
from the Brookmere Bridge.
No, Dash. Don't be going getting your tail in a knot.
Applejack stated before walking up to Twilight.
On, y'all the one with the skills. Lay it out for us. What happened exactly?
I have no idea. The Lavender Pony bit her lip.
Well, I'll be honest. I think the spell did work, and we did move.
She lowered her head, tried to activate her horn, but only a few sparks flew from its tip.
I've used up so much magic. If it had just been the vase in the book that had teleported, that wouldn't have been the case. But the spell didn't explain why we're in... But that still doesn't explain why we're in the same spot as we started from.
Well, I could go on a 5-minute rant about how this would work, but...
This is a long chapter.
Fluttershy's eyes flew open.
Twilight? What if... I mean, I don't usually say this, but what if we moved the other ways instead? I mean, I've read about those...
in those Nay-Ponies comics.
Nice.
Alright.
Continuing.
I've read about it in those Nabonese comics Scootaloo lets me borrow.
Dash quirked an eyebrow.
I never knew you read manga.
Nice.
My God, the pony puns!
Continuing.
The science fiction ones or those icky school feeling ones? Both.
Continuing.
Well, this is obviously not a surprise at all.
So, does that mean that Fluttershy has read Battle Pegasus Alita? Continuing.
Hold on.
Twilight interrupted, a hoof to her chin.
You mentioned other kinds of travel. You're talking something along the lines of time travel, aren't you?
No, you'd all be dead if you actually did time travel, but that's another rant for another day. A silence descended upon them so quickly it made the butter pony go eep in surprise.
You know,
Rarity got on all four hooves, shouldering her pack.
there's really only one way to find out.
Pinky cheered for all present. All 6 mares ponied up and began their trek into town, each one in the vague sense of unease within their stomachs. Well, all but one. Her stomach was simply empty and she was craving fudge. They left the scene, the breeze ruffling the grass they had previously trampled. Within a few minutes, any sign that they had been there was gone with them. No pony saw the unicorn stallion who advanced from the hill from the other direction. His horn aglow as he checked the site for signs of the flash he had seen minutes earlier.
Holy horse apples!
He exclaimed, catching the leftover energy residue.
What in Solaris' kingdom has the power for that kind of magic?
Meanwhile, in the parallel ranch, these fillies' sense of unease increased as they entered Ponyville proper. As far as they knew, it was Ponyville. At least it had looked like it from the outside. Inside, however...
Is this Ponyville? I'm in. The place looks the same and all.
Applejack stated as they strolled through the square.
But I don't recognize any of these ponies.
Twilight looked around the town itself. The street looked the same. All the architecture was in place. But her friend had a point. Absolutely none of the ponies that milled about the town looked familiar. At least, she didn't think they did.
Maybe we really did, travel in time.
Dash stated, a slight tinge of fear creeping into her voice.
I mean, we could be in the past or the future.
Rainbow, please.
Bitch, please.
I would have noticed if this were a different time period. Look!
She trod over the nearby lamppost.
That pole has a piñata on it. The same... patina?
Yeah.
What the hell is a patina?
No idea, just keep going.
This pole has a patina on it. The same as the current state of we're back home. If we're not already there, if this were the past, this would have been a new paint. But... oh, it's paint. Whatever. I'll correct myself later if I'm wrong. Another bit of erosion, and if this were the future, there would most definitely be rust building around the base and the lantern itself. There is logic in that.
Go on.
A very astute observation, Rarity.
Twilight beamed.
You would have made a great detective,
But remained one, preened at the comment. She turned back to her friends.
So, we can assume that we're still in the present day and age. If we did time travel at all, it's probably only been a few days.
Fluttershy glanced around.
But with so many different ponies around, there must be a holiday going on. And there's not a Ponyville holiday for another month or so. At least, I don't think there is. What holiday would that be?
Twilight asked.
Woo! Woo! Me!
Thank you, Beaker. The party pony suddenly leapt.
The Clover Day! Everybody gathers in the park when all the clover leaves are in bloom, and they all line up and run through the field picking as many clover as they can. The one who finds a 4-leaf clover is the winner! I need some water.
Makes sense to me.
Sorry. Though usually it comes down to whoever comes in first.
Applejack finished.
Baldy's being so rude and all.
Hey!
Dash interjected.
If it is the Clover Derby today, what say we enter?
She hovered in the air, eyes alight, and current plight momentarily forgotten. Rarity clicked her tongue.
Dearie, we have more important matters to worry about at the moment. Though I do agree that if that's what the case is, then let's head to the park.
The sooner the better.
Twilight agreed.
I'd like to know if I've missed a month of friendship reports or not.
Oh, quit worrying. The group galloped off, only Pinkie Pie trailing slightly behind.
Woo! I love clovers, especially on the radish side.
Meanwhile, at the park, on the ranch.
Okay.
Well, this looks like a bust.
It sure all looks like it, don't it?
Farmer agreed with the Pegasus as they looked over the park. There were ponies in it, but not the huge gaggle usually associated with the running of a race. No, there were ponies playing, eating, chatting, and the usual stuff. And they were still all ponies they had never seen before.
Oh my!
Rarity stated, not looking a bit antsy.
At this point, I would even be grateful to see Ditsy do. I mean, the mare has such a hard time, but she's still a sweetheart.
Right here.
Yep.
Anyway,
I don't recognize any of them.
Sounded like Pinkie Pie almost for a moment. Anyway.
Twilight groaned, entering a state of panic herself.
How is this even possible? What did the spell do? Did we... Are we?
An uneasy silence settled over them as they looked to the ground, which made it easier for Fluttershy to be heard.
Look!
She exclaimed as loudly as she ought to do. She was pointing to a park bench which was facing away from them.
Lyra and Bonbon!
Sure enough, a pair of mares peeked over at the edge of the park's bench, a mint green with a stripe, and a more girly pink and purple dew. Suddenly all 6 mares were tripping over themselves as they galloped to the bench. Twilight was the first to round the corner. She spun to face them.
Lyra! Bonbon! It's so good to...
She stopped in mid-sentence. She stared in wide-eyed confusion. The rest of her group caught up with her. One by one, they 2 paused and stared, Dash adding a gaping mouth to hers. The 2 ponies on the bench were giving them confused looks of their own. One was a unicorn, perched on her rear, with their back against the rest, hind legs draped over the edge, in exactly the way a pony doesn't sit. Curled up next to the pony was a cream-coated equine with wide blue eyes. What surprised the group was the fact that each 2 possessed sloped and squared noses, a slightly larger stature, and toned chests. The green pony had a lyre cutie mark and the other pony a trio of candies. These 2 were unmistakably stallions. The not Bonbon stated.
Can we help you?
Group gaped for a second more. Before Twilight finally managed to collect her wits.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She apologized, cheeks going red.
From behind, you 2 looked just like some pony else we knew.
The male Lyra waved a hoof.
Oh, that's okay. You'd be surprised how often that happens.
He turned to his companion.
Hey, Babar, ever tell you about the time I participated in the Clover Derby last year? I swore I saw another stallion there who looked just like me, save he was an earth pony.
Babar chuckled.
I can just imagine it now. New and improved Earth Pony Harpsy. With an apple-bucking action.
He got a look. Soon the green one began chuckling alongside his friend, before moving in and giving him an affectionate nuzzle. Somewhere in the back of the group, a butter Pegasus went.
Aww.
The mint unicorn Harpsy turned back to the fillies.
Right, sorry about that. Are you girls new in town? Can't say I've seen you lot here before.
Oh, yeah, we...
Twilight bit her lip. She was faltering in the face of all this information. She couldn't quite...
Why, yes, we are!
Rarity spoke up.
Me and my friends were just passing through. We're on our way to Philadelphia for a show there. This is our first time in Ponyville. Well then, welcome.
The bar cheered.
If you can, stay around for a spell. You won't find a nicer town in all of Equestria. We can give you a tour if you'd like.
Oh, whoa!
Pinkie suddenly cheered.
Let's go to Shrieking Corner. I hear it's the best.
Actually,
Applejack interrupted.
Aunt Ray running a bit late for that show. Ready?
She got a stare in her direction. Which... She returned. It took a second for the dressmaker to pick up.
Oh, yes. My friend makes a dreadfully good point. I apologize, but we have to depart post-haste. It was mighty good to meet you, though.
Nice meeting you too.
Harpsy responded, waving a hoof.
Be sure to stick around on your return trip.
Oh, we will.
Rarity responded, turning to follow her friends as they alternatively slunk, stumbled, creeped, or bounced away behind the trees.
Until we meet again.
The 2 colts continued to wave as the group progressed out of sight. After a long minute, the Earth Pony turned to his friend.
Say, didn't those fillies remind you of a certain other group?
You know, they did kinda. Can't put my finger on why, but they did remind me of them.
Hun, don't you mean Hoof
I have hands! Meanwhile, back on the left, because they're still in the park, technically. Meanwhile, to the left, the ranch! They're still in the same spot, jackass!
Fine!
None of that.
Oh my gosh, 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 oh my gosh!
Dash was chanting. The implications were hitting her the hardest.
I can't believe I didn't see it either!
Twilight exclaimed, head poking out of the bushes as she took in the surrounding pony folk.
But it's true! Every pony is here! They're just all switch!
Applejack thundered.
Look over there! Ain't that the professor?
She was pointing at a tan mare with a spiky mane and hourglass cutie mark.
Don't you mean the doctor? But I'll let it slide.
Same thing.
And that, if I'm not mistaken...
Rarity quipped, looking at a lanky purple coat that walked with a slight stagger in his step.
It's quite possibly Betty Punch. Poor thing can't seem to hold all this... Poor thing can't seem to hold their cider.
Just read it.
Alright. Poor thing can't seem to hold their cider as a boy or a girl. If every pony here who's really back home is now a cult...
Fluttershy began trying to wrap her mind around the concept.
Then, wouldn't that make the princess a prince?
It's a patriarch. The student's face turned a bright shade of crimson at the thought.
Well, maybe. That's not the point. The point
is... Bang a gong, get it on. Anyway, continuing.
Okay.
Maybe, but that's not the point. The point is, we at least have a better idea of where we are. We're not really traveled in time, but we did travel in space. We're in an alternate universe.
And now we consult the expert in alternate universes to give a better explanation of to what exactly happens.
You see, Madeline, I deal in alternate universes quite often in my own work. Now, a multiverse is essentially multiple universes. Now, however, in order for there to be a different multiverse each time, there has to be a different universe each time. There has to be a significant change. In this case, the idea of Rule 63 does qualify kind of because of the political and socio-political and demographic implications as such, as seen with Harpsy and Babar. Now, however, if it was just that alone, it wouldn't qualify enough, which means something significant has to happen, which clearly has. Which means, unfortunately, to those of you who enjoy certain cartoon show that I myself enjoy as well, there is no universe of silly hats. Never has, never will be. Thank you, and good night. Also, know your evil by its beard. Anyway,
moving right along. Woo!
Piggy cheered.
Where no mirror has gone before!
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the USS Enterprise, on a 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds and seek out new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Wow, 2 Star Trek references in less than a minute.
Yep.
It was like, space?
Rainbow stuttered, her wings still slightly trembling.
You mean we're not even on the same planet anymore? That's probably a bad word for it.
Rarity interjected.
We're still in Equestria, just not our Equestria.
The orange equine raised an eyebrow.
Back pawn check you, but what in tarnation that's supposed to mean?
An alternate timeline.
Twilight began launching into an explanation.
Emerges when a set of different circumstances occur. Technically, a new universe is spawned with every decision made or not made with every event that did or didn't happen. But that's probably a bit too much to get into.
She grinned sheepishly at the baffled faces before her. She thought for a moment, for her ears picked up.
Rarity, do you have a marker and some ribbons?
White Mare provided the 2 materials. The purple one took them. She started anew.
Let's say this red ribbon is our native timeline. It's the world in which we all grew up and made us who we are. Now, We all know that Rainbow Dash's first sonic rainboom gave us all our cutie marks at the same time, right?
She got a round of nods.
Good. Now, this isn't a slight against your skill, Rainbow Dash, but let's face it, there was always a chance you would never have made it, right?
For a second, it looked like the Pegasus wanted to argue against the possibility, but then she closed her eyes and slowly nodded her head.
There's always the chance that the opposite result will occur, and when that happens, a whole new chain of events happen.
She brought a marker up to the red ribbon and made a dot on it, and then brought up the blue strip to the branch away from the point.
And the laws of causality states that every choice that has to happen, somewhere out there, there's a universe where Dash didn't make the sonic rainboom. And when she didn't, a new timeline branched off of that point. This blue ribbon...
She gave it a wave.
...is that alternate universe.
All the ponies present stared dumbfounded at the thought. As the thought sank in, even Pinkie Pie was uncharacteristically silent, thinking back on the rock farm.
So, does that explanation hold up?
Yes.
Alright then. Move right along.
But it has to be something significant. It's essentially minor timelines cause essentially pockets, but essentially something that big.
Alright. I would still be in Manhattan.
Applejack mumbled.
All done. When we get back, I'll have plenty to pay. Sorry. I'll have to pay Aunt and Uncle Orange another visit.
It's not pleasant for me to think about either. It's just what with the test and all.
That's what I added.
But what happens, happens. And our other selves have to live with it. Like we have to live with what we have.
But we're not living our own lives right now.
Birdie spoke.
If what you say is right, we've jumped off our own ribbon and landed on another.
Where every pony was born the opposite gender.
Dash quipped.
Well, I can think of worse places to wind up, but still, that's just creepy.
Meanwhile, in the parallel universe where dinosaurs are still real, but also invisible.
Is there a dinosaur in here?
Meanwhile, back in the original universe.
So, how are we going to take over the world tonight, Daedalus?
Wrong universe.
Meanwhile, back in the universe in which Razor and Daedaltheus are actually reading this story.
Proceeding.
Well, wait.
Fluttershy suddenly spoke, her eyes wide.
If everyone here was born the other sex...
What? Who's supposed to be saying this?
Probably Twilight.
What about us?
A silence reigned. Fillies looked back and forth at each other, a chill going down their spines.
Do you think our selves are still here?
Applejack stuttered.
Or do you think we're out in switch places and they're having this conversation right now in our world, wondering why the hey they ain't in Manhattan yet?
More silence before Twilight finally narrowed her eyes.
Only one way to find out. To the library!
Denday. Nails here.
No!
Meanwhile, at the library on the ranch, the parallel ranch,
Yeah, I'm just going to say...
the plan was half-baked.
Wouldn't most of the puns in this story be about the parallel wrench?
Yes.
Oh well. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Meanwhile, at the parallel ranch, the plan was half-baked, but a plan was still a plan. The giant tree that served as Ponyville's repository of knowledge loomed close as they galloped towards it. Twilight was relieved to see that there was nothing substantially different about the place on the outside, or on the inside, as they piled through the door, mercifully empty as they caught their breath. She took a moment to see that, yes, everything was still in perfect order. She felt a surge of pride, even though she knew technically this wasn't exactly her library.
Well, I didn't see us.
Dash replied, panting as she looked around.
Not that I was really looking forward to that, but still.
Is this even a good idea?
Rhodey quipped.
Twilight, isn't there a rule about time-traveling paradoxes and meeting yourself in the past?
That's time traveling, not dimension hopping.
The magician replied.
But I can see what you mean by it. Well, what do you mean? Will something bad happen?
Fluttershy asked, hooves up to her mouth.
Well, some research ponies believe that it's impossible for the same pony to exist twice.
We apologize, Mentalgen. We thought somebody was making a ruckus outside. Moving right along.
Well, some research ponies believe it's technically impossible for the same pony to exist twice in the same place and time. If one meets the other, or both of them might, well...
She bit her lip. Not sure if she wanted to say it. Metalgen?
Mm-hmm.
Southland Tales got this. Go on.
Worst movie ever.
You can't bitch unless you've seen it. You ain't seen it, so shut the fuck up.
I will never see that movie.
So then you can't call it the worst movie because you've never seen it. I, however, have seen Troy, The Source, and Versus, and Snow Day. All four of those are the worst movies I've ever seen.
And one of them I'm directly responsible for.
Yeah, Versus fucking sucked. Troy was an insult to the Iliad. Snow Day was the most boring thing I've seen, and I was 8 years old. And don't get me started on The Source.
For the... Two things, Mentalgen. For those of
Look
you...
up Highlander The Source and just go to Rotten Tomatoes, read all the comments about it. Trust me.
Or if you really want to know about it, just watch Spoonie's review.
Watch the damn movie. God fucking damn. Anyway.
We have a reading to get back to.
Go on!
Okay. Go poof!
Pinky suggested.
Cease to exist. Isn't that what I just said?
No.
Pardon me.
The apple farmer butted in.
But if that's true, then what tarnation are we all gathered around here for? Isn't this one of our meeting spots?
Good point.
Didn't think this through very well, did you?
Nope.
If our other selves aren't in this dimension still, then yes, that's a cause for worry.
Rarity replied.
Though there's also the case that they're experiencing the same thing we are, in which case we should be fine.
Suddenly a voice tripped down from above. It was a young voice, slightly squeaky and whiny, but it was still female.
Hello? Any pony down there? Spike?
Violet hissed under her breath.
Pony feathers! We can't stay here! The rest of the other
Pony folk, that sounds something more like Applejack would say, but for
semantics, we can't stay here! This is the other pony folk might not have recognized us, but here, she surely will! But I thought we were trying to get answers!
Rainbow whispered back.
Somebody's gonna have to stay! It can't be me!
The student exclaimed quietly.
She'll know me the best! Not me!
Rarity interjected, eyes flipping back and forth.
We all know how the deal feels about me, and I wouldn't want to traumatize. I don't trust Pinky.
Applejack whispered, earning her a confused look from the pink pony.
And I also don't trust myself. Oh, Dash, to go and stop flipping up in our mouths.
She got another look, rather angry from the Pegasus.
So that just leaves...
I'm coming!
Came the voice from upstairs, followed by the patter of dragonoid feet. Suddenly, Fluttershy found a farmer's hat plopped into her head, quickly followed by a bright blue scarf and the dressmaker's saddlebag wrapped around her throat and mouth. Then suddenly, she was wished a hasty
Good luck!
Before finding herself alone in the library proper. The door was swinging slightly, a hasty departure. Aqua eyes wide, she began looking around for a hiding place for herself. Before Purple Form ran into view.
I'm sorry. I was napping. I'll be down in a... Whoa!
The small dragon had tripped. Their journey down the stairs was a bumpy one. As they finally landed in a heap at the bottom, Fluttershy got her first good look. The dragoness was still small, but the same size as Spike. Her spines were a lighter green, however, almost lime. They were smaller and limp as well, falling down the back of the head, not unlike a mane. Purple Lizard got up back onto her feet, before dusting herself off.
Sorry about that. It's just not my day today. Oh!
The green eyes finally locked on the yellow Pegasus, a look of ease coming over her face.
Hey, Butterscotch! Fancy seeing you here. Say, isn't that AJ's hat? Oh, her...
She faltered, not really certain how to answer.
Yeah, she, let me borrow it for today. I mean, he didn't mind, that is.
Now the dragoness had a look of worry, as an eyebrow was arched.
You okay there, Scotch? You're not sounding like yourself, Pony.
An idea came to mind. She held a hoof up to pretend to cough into it.
No, I'm really not. Well, I caught a cold, and well, AJ let me borrow her. His hat to keep me warm. Well,
Right.
Moving on. Well, now that was mighty neighborly of him.
The femme reptile replied, her eyes now going to the scarf.
And I bet Elusive gave you and I bet Elusive gave you that too, didn't he? Oh, what a guy.
Her eyes went misty for a second before she came back into focus.
Is there anything I can do to help, Scotch?
Scotch on the rocks, please. Fluttershy's eyes returned to scanning the room. Along one window, she saw multiple eyes peering in.
Oh, well, if it isn't too much of a bother, Spike, Spike, come on, Butterscotch. It's me, Spines.
The she-lizard replied, spreading her arms wide.
Only dragon in Ponyville? But you knew that already, Eddie, right? Come on, Brony.
Brony. Hey.
Hey!
Continuing.
Come on, Brony. Lay it on me. Can I get anything at all?
Yellow Pony sat and thought for a second. She talked herself into a corner. Now she would have talked herself back out. Too bad she didn't have any poison joke on her. The man voice would have come in handy. Wait.
Would you still happen to have supernaturals?
She asked, before giving another cough. Spine smiled back.
Sure thing. Just wait right here. I'll get it right quick.
She found herself grinning beneath the scarf as the dragoness ran off. Despite being a girl, the personality had more or less remained the same, and that comforted her on an unexplainable level.
I hope she manages to find it soon.
She thought to herself.
The sooner I can leave, the better.
Meanwhile, outside the window. It's within 5 feet. Remember the parameters? 120 feet, 150 feet or more.
Fine.
Don't give me that.
Okay. Just read.
Outside, 5 fillies were breathing sighs of relief as they watched and listened.
Good thinking, dear.
Rarity said, more to herself than anybody else.
That was truly inspired to combine the covenant of sickness with the quest for knowledge. The girl can think on her feet when it comes right down to it, that's for sure.
Applejack agreed, a smile plastered on her face.
So far, so good.
Twilight spoke, her eyes still watching the scene inside.
It's still weird to see Spike as a girl, but besides that, she doesn't seem that different. Maybe this universe really is a mirror world, and...
Know your Spock by his beard! Her words were cut short by the sound of hoofsteps. Quickly, all mares ducked back inside the shrubbery.
We want a shrubbery! Da-da!
Behind the library, sign as the clopping grew closer. As the steps trotted up the library, the student found her curiosity overwhelming. Gently, she activated her horn to allow her to peek through the bushes as the new pony came into view. And she stopped as she saw himself.
Well,
Applejack whispered.
so much for mirrors.
Pinkie Pie blinked, a mirror in her mouth.
I'm small Is a mirror in her... Am I still even doing that right? Ah, fuck it. I'm small confused.
Thank you, Christopher Walken. Meanwhile, at the door,
Spines, I'm home.
Fluttershy's eyes shook at the sound of the voice. It was male, but light, like that of a school teacher she had back in Cloudsdale. Slowly, she forced her head to turn in the direction of the speaker. It was a purple unicorn stallion with a fair build. Found herself thinking of Caramel the most in regards of structure. His hair was straight cut, with a hint of ragginess towards the rear of the mane. His tail was echoing the style. Upon his flank, a familiar pink six-pointed star.
Oh, hey, Dusk!
The dragoness called out from atop the ladder.
Just helping out with Butterscotch with something.
The lavender colt turned his purple eyes upon the Pegasus. He apparently missed her earlier.
Oh, hey there, Scotch. Didn't see you before. Sorry about that.
He laughed nervously, rubbing the back of his mane.
Kinda had my head in the clouds, you know.
She was now stammering as she faced down a different face of one of her friends.
It's all right.
Dusk paused, his eyes widened in much the same way as Spines had earlier.
Wow, Butterscotch, you're not sounding too good. Did you get into that poison? You didn't get into that poison joke again, didn't you?
He's got a cold.
Spines replied, rejoining the two with a green book in her hands.
Here we go, little guy. Supernaturals. The one book that would have saved us all if some pony hadn't been in such a hurry.
She gave a pointed glare to the purple pony, who grinned sheepishly.
Oh, thank you, Spines.
Fluttershy responded, coming forward and taking the book back into her hooves.
This is just what I needed.
You know, Scotch.
Dusk began, coming up alongside the winged one.
You could have let me I find a cure for whatever you got. I mean, I know they say there's no cure for the common cold, but that doesn't mean some ponies should give it a try.
Oh, thank you, Dusk.
She replied, her tongue tripping over the use of the name.
But, you know me, I'd like to try and, well, go the natural route first. That is, if you don't mind.
Inwardly, she had already imagined that if Dusk were anything like her friend, she'd be stuck having to endure experiment after experiment to try and rid her of whatever cold she had. He smiled at her.
Of course.
The purple colt replied, before leaning in and giving her a nuzzle.
Just be sure and wash those clothes before you go giving them back. I bet Applejack wouldn't be too happy catching whatever it is you got.
She was being nuzzled by a colt, even if it was more or less Twilight. In male form, he was still a colt. She found herself blushing furiously under the scarf, and her wits temporarily scattered.
No, Rarity wouldn't like her, scarf.
Dusk pulled his head back, an eyebrow raised.
Yeah. Sounds to me like you'd better get some rest.
He chuckled nervously. She blinked before she chuckled alongside him, trying her best to keep it from turning into a giggle.
You're right. I should be going. See you two later. And thanks again, Spike. Spines. No problem.
The girl dragon called back as Fluttershy did an about face and quickly galloped out of the library. To be continued.
And unlike the previous story we've read, this story actually has a next time on section.
On the next Cross and Arrow, Twilight rolled her eyes.
That wouldn't work, Pinky. Why didn't I think of it before? But this applies to all of us.
She lumped on the ground as the rest of the ponies gathered around her.
Any hiding spot we can think of, our other selves are going to think of it too. And we can't ask help from any of the town's ponies. They'd become suspicious.
The party pony hummed to herself before something in the distance caught her eye.
What about those guys?
As one, every pony looked in the direction Pinky was pointing at. There was a red and orange blur working its way down the path towards them. As it got closer, a noise began to fill the air. A buzzing of miniature wings.
Crusaders!
Tune in next time
for part 2
of On a Cross and an Arrow.